Hi there. How are you all doing?
I'm doing all right.
I'm doing pretty okay, all things considered. Before we begin today, I actually wanted to go over just one idea someone brought up in the comment section for the third episode. You can tell we record with it, like, there's a little bit of a buffer between when we record these and when the episodes go up, so like we're responding to stuff a little bit out of order, but Italulu brings up an interesting theory on the episode 3 comment section about the idea of Hedwig being the murderer, which is, on the face of it, not as crazy as I would have thought, right? Because she's the only person who we know is... She's our only POV, but we also know that she is embellishing based on comments she makes to the person she's talking to. So it's not completely without the question that it's not entirely unreasonable to ask the question, was she the murderer of Catherine with a C? I'm going to go ahead and say probably not, just from a functional standpoint. I don't think it makes sense for a mystery for her to be the one that murdered Catherine. That said, I don't think that means that Hedwig is above suspicion for what happens after this. Now that she's out of her cell, I do think it's within the bounds of play, given that we know she's being selective in how she tells her story, and given that we know she either winds up back inside the anchoress's cell or in a cell of a different kind. It's not completely without the realm of possibility that she does something else afterwards. But I understand the argument for it, but I don't think it makes much sense mechanically to think that she murdered Catherine with a C.
Yeah, I guess I agree. It would feel kind of weird if we had to discount basically the entirety of what we're told so far to believe it, right? That she would have had to not have actually been locked in there that whole time.
Right.
But have somehow been able to get out. And do a whole murder and so on. And all of the investigation so far just being a cover-up and pretending to be innocent and...
Right, which for that doesn't really super make sense. I do agree that her point of view being malleable is worth keeping an eye on going forward.
Yeah.
If she starts omitting certain stuff... Like she just admitted an entire week. Like, I don't think necessarily there's anything nefarious in there because nothing really happened as far as we know. But like,
maybe something did.
She does have some agency in how she's telling the story, and that can be used to elide certain facts that she finds inconvenient. But until such a point as something happens that we can like pin on her, then I don't think it's worth going into yet. You know. But I wanted you to know we saw that comment, and that's awesome, and we were thinking about it. Regardless, let's get back into it. Let's load that sode. Hey, that rhymed. All right, we're back in the Misericorde. The silence came back. This time it felt like the very air had been sucked out of the already stuffy room. Everyone was looking in different directions. I could hear heavy, deep breaths.
Time for meat.
Thank you, Darce. Adela stood up first and strode over to the door, unlatching it and holding it open so that Darcy could lumber in, carrying a massive platter of food. Everyone sort of shuffled awkwardly to move the cups and wineskin out of the way. Darcy plunked the platter down and dusted her hands off with a satisfied expression on her face.
You have beef and lamb and a bit of pork here. Coated in a special sauce and cooked to perfection over a roaring fire by yours truly. Why is everybody so glum? We're just hungry, Darcy. Thank you.
Darcy's nigh-impervious smile flickered just a little.
All right, then. Well, enjoy.
I like how Darcy understands that there's more going on here, but also that it's not, like, she ain't gonna fuck with this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Aren't you going to have some?
Oh, I'm not allowed.
Not outside the Misericorde, no, but you're here. Now.
Even seeing Darcy's mouth twitch was heartbreaking enough that I felt compelled to do whatever I could to make her feel better. Luckily, she took to my logic quite well.
I suppose I am, aren't I? There are too many people in here.
Oh, for Pete's sake, Angela. You go and stand outside while she eats, then.
Angela's chair scraped violently against the stone floor. Charity really has it out for her.
Yeah.
Like she kind of couches it in being like, oh, you know, she's kind of a grump. She deserves it. We all have our picks at her. But no, she very specifically is going out of her way to antagonize Angela. That's not just like your normal passive, like, oh, she sucks kind of hate. That's like actively going for it.
I couldn't help but wince.
She can stay. Have a good night, everyone. A touch dramatic, Sister Angela. Hedwig?
Yes, Sister Angela?
Nothing. Not now. I won't spoil your evening.
Why would she get our attention and say, not now?
Maybe she was going to chastise us for inviting Darcy to stay when that was over the number of people and so on.
I thought she was just saying, hey, grab a quick bite and then get on your way.
Yeah.
But
that puts a number of people that's larger than the half and so on. So if you're being strict about it,
yep.
Darcy shouldn't be in here at all. You should have just handed the platter and walked off.
If you're being super strict about it, she shouldn't have been able to even cook that food in the first place.
Someone's got to cook it.
Right, but like if we're being strict, then like let's be strict about the rules, right?
Is there a rule against cooking it?
That's fucking bizarre. There's not a rule. You can't eat it, but you can cook it. Go right ahead. Be a waste otherwise.
And with that, she swept herself out of the room. All eyes turned to Darcy, who was blissfully munching on a small piece of meat, hanging off a bone.
Oh, I couldn't possibly stay. Sorry. Busy tonight.
She finished her snack and then licked her fingers.
Enjoy. Have a good night, Darce.
Hold on, this music. All right, yeah, we're good now.
Indeed.
You can't see me fucking bobbing to every time a new track comes on, but...
Darcy excused herself from the room. Margaret followed behind her to latch the door shut again, and then turned around to face the rest of the sisters.
Well...
Oh, should one of us flag Eustace down, perhaps?
She is also busy tonight. Hedwig and I stopped in on her on the way here. Moira? Marta?
Marta's probably asleep by now.
Well, it's one of those two. Or the soup.
Wait, do they have to have half of them in here? Is that why?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they just assume that everyone wants to be here and have a good time.
Got it.
They're trying to maximize the number of folks who can have a good time. Could you imagine?
Where's Moira at the moment?
I believe she is usually in the library or reading in her dorm at this hour. She'll be in her dorm then. Eustace seemed in no mood for visitors.
Flora, would you be a dear?
I just started eating.
I'm only asking you to go down the hall. The food will still be here when you get back.
Will it? I've seen you lot eat before.
Now! Cheeky little.
I'm going.
This was certainly not as relaxing as I had been led to believe. That being said, I was still feeling surprisingly confident. I think perhaps I was even finding some relief in the fact that this particular spat had unfolded without me at the center of it. In fact, I was barely involved in the kerfuffle at all. Charity forced a smile. Well, best not let things get cold now. There was a murmur of approval from the others. We all moved our chairs slightly closer to the overflowing platter of sugared meat.
I do not understand why Angela is so cruel. I am positive she has gotten worse as well. She's always been an insufferable coxcomb.
I've never heard that word before. Hold on. What does that mean? That's a good one. Google, tell me what does Nope, no, not coxcomb. Coxcomb. Oh, I found coxcomb with a CK. Yes. What is this? The crested comb over rooster, a tropical plant, an orchid related. Okay, that's not helpful. The comb over rooster. Oh. So like part of a chicken?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, here we go. No, oh, never mind. Coxcomb with a CKS is different from coxcomb with an X.
Okay.
Turns out. Coxcomb with an X is an archaic thing, noun meaning a vain and conceited man, a dandy. And that is also a variant spelling of coxcomb.
She is pretty conceited.
Yeah, she is pretty conceited. I wouldn't say vain, but conceited, definitely.
Must we drag it all out? She's left. No use quarreling with someone who's not even here.
To be fair, Charity, Hedwig is here because Angela overheard you two grousing about her.
Yes, well, that's different.
It's not fair if you get to have all the fun.
Well, I was under the impression that Angela wanted to come tonight to apologize to Hedwig for her behavior.
Oh. Interesting. So Angela wasn't just randomly here. It was on purpose that Angela was here the night Hedwig was.
Oh, interesting. That also kind of fits with how I imagine her as a character so far, right? Because like she is kind of a hard ass, but she's mostly a hard ass because she's a hard ass on herself first and foremost. It's like at least given the scraps that we have of what her backstory seems to be, it would make sense if she was in a position where she felt like even if she wasn't graceful about it, she had to apologize if she broke any of her own, transgressed any of her own rules, right?
Yep. That does seem a bit far-fetched.
No, it's true. I apologized to her for my own outburst, and she agreed to apologize to Hedwig for her roughness. Is that true, Sister Charity? This did stretch credulity, but I was curious. Angela's barbed words had wrapped around me so tightly even the slightest bit of slack was a relief. Of course! On condition that you also apologized, I think. A fresh start for all of us.
I have nothing to apologize to that woman for. Well, not a thing.
Well, if she wants an apology, I'm obliged to hear what she has to say and do my best to make amends. Catherine's upper lip curled harder than I'd ever seen it curve before.
She will hang whatever complaint she has over your head for the rest of your life, apology or no.
Sounds like she might have done that to Catherine.
Believe me, I've been there.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yes. I've done that song and dance for her. She just enjoys watching people squirm.
Yeah, I can see why people would think about her that way.
How cruel. Well, she wasn't always like this.
I do not care. It's true, though. It's a shame.
What happened?
If I knew, things might look a little different. It has certainly gotten worse since Catherine, too, passed on.
And that's true for all of us. And she got along with Angela worse than I do. This was difficult to imagine, but it was very interesting indeed. And why is that?
It's actually a bit funny.
I remember them getting along very well, to be honest.
They were friendly at one point, but I mostly remember them clashing. So, Hedwig, I'd mentioned to you before that Catherine too loved foisting projects and hobbies on us.
I remember.
Well, for a while, it was... Should we say this? For a while, it was body literature.
Body... What?
For those of you listening in, that is body with an A-W, not an O.
Fablio, as it were.
Oh, you mean love poems? Romantic writing?
No, well, perhaps. Have you really never read any?
I'm afraid I've had nothing quite so, ribald in my cell.
They can certainly be romantic, although I think they are more concerned with the fruits of romance.
A particular part of romance.
The intercourse. The fucking.
I nearly choked on the bit of lamb I was eating. You were all reading that sort of thing in here?
Oh dear, her wheels are coming off. It's really quite common for monks to write this sort of thing. It helps ease tensions, I suppose. And Catherine, too, thought, why not us? It might be a healthy exercise.
For what purpose?
For the fun of it. Purely for the thrill. God knows we're not allowed to have any fun here.
That's not true.
Not that kind.
Hedwig, dearie, it's really not that strange. After a few more weeks here, you'll probably realize just how little there is to do. Was something new and entertaining that the girls were interested in? I understand. But fornicatio autem et ominis immuditia aut auritia nec nomentur en
Vobis sicut decet sanctos. Yes, we've studied a bit of the Bible here and there, actually.
Sorry, I just don't see how writing that sort of thing is appropriate for women of our station. The sisters all looked at each other with slightly concerned expressions. The confidence I had brought into the room with me was rapidly draining. I felt like I'd accidentally cast myself as an outsider to be scorned once again.
Well, we endeavored to keep most of it in here. It is the Misericorde, after all. We're eating red meat.
The role of Saint Benedict might wane in here, but this sounds more like purely biblical instructions being broken. Hedwig, the gentlest and most pious monk I ever had the pleasure of working with. Years and years ago now, used to write beer recipes in the margins of his Bibles.
That rocks.
That does kind of rock, actually.
And I remember meeting him for the first time delivering food to a village that had come down with the plague. He told the most outrageous jokes I'd ever heard in my life, and I could hardly walk from laughing, all while risking ourselves to help the diseased and dying. Do we deserve hell for a few bawdy japes? Well, this was not an argument worth having.
It depends on the jokes, I would think.
Everyone else laughed. I was stunned by Catherine with a K's ability to say the exact words I wanted to say, with the exact opposite meaning.
Tell us one. Yes, go on.
Well, all right. As long as Hedwig is quite all right with it. I smiled meaninglessly. I felt like a bear showing off my teeth. Oh, please, don't hold back on my account.
A trial by fire for dear Hedwig.
Very well. Here it is. He told me about a nun he had worked with before who had been a midwife, much like myself.
Interesting. So Charity was a midwife at one point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because she's the almoner now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But at one point she did work as a midwife. Okay. Good. Before she joined her convent...
I think Charity's better than mid.
My apologies to all the Charity stands out there.
Before she joined her convent, she had been assisting her lady with a particularly tough birth. The poor thing just could not get out. The midwife took a look between her lady's legs and the lady said, "Oh, what if it comes out the other hole? I forget which road my husband took."
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good, actually. Imagine having the presence of mind to make a joke like that while giving birth to. Damn, great job.
The others erupted in raucous laughter. Catherine was particularly doubled over. I don't get it.
Think about it.
What do roads have to do with it?
Babes typically come out of the,
Yes, that much I know, thank you.
I actually wasn't sure you would, so that's a relief. Is that in the Bible?
I am capable of a fair amount of deduction on my own. I may have spent a long time in a cell, but I'm not a complete fool.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to like the very unique ways in which Hedwig is savvy and not savvy,
Yeah.
right? She's she's certainly very savvy, but in not in the ways one would expect.
Extremely learned, but can't handle a flight of stairs.
Yeah, exactly. Like the particular barriers to her experience are very stark and steep.
That's fair, that's fair. So, you know a rough outline of how it all works.
Yes?
Well, there you go then. All the pieces are within your grasp.
Oh no!
She got there.
Oh! How does that... Why? Does that work?
No, that is the joke.
So the joke is that her husband was quite stupid and
That's very possible, but that's not the thrust of it, no. Think harder, Sister Hedwig.
I was rescued by the sound of the door swinging open.
Found her. Hello, everyone. You lot ate all that while I was gone? There is still plenty of food. What took you so long? Couldn't find her.
So she wasn't in the library and she wasn't in her dorm. She was off doing something else.
Hmm.
What were you up to, Moira? What were you up to?
Sorry for giving you the runaround. I ran into Darcy and was chatting with her, and then I went for a walk in the garden. Could Angela not make it? She got her fill of the attention she wanted. Let's not get back into it. No, I could talk about it all night.
And that's the problem.
Fair enough. Well, now that we're back up to fighting strength, what to do? Should we play a game? I would love to play some chess. Later, I'm not feeling particularly strategic yet.
She reached for the wineskin and poured herself a generous refill.
I'll get there, I'm sure.
Are you better at strategy games when you're pissed drunk? Does
Almost
that make you better at
assuredly
Crusader
not.
Kings 3?
I don't know, I gotta try.
Is there a Balmer Peak equivalent for map games?
Well, since Angela isn't here to complain about them any longer, how about some ghost stories? You'll like that, Hedwig.
Right. While navigating through my personal doldrums for the past few days, I had completely forgotten what my reputation among the sisters currently was. Not only was I a mousy, prudish, trembling little creature, an estimation I could at least agree with, I had stumbled into giving off the impression of a spirit-chasing prankster. It did not suit me.
Oh, well, I don't know. They give me the shivers.
That's the point. Precisely. I will tell you all my story. Oh, must we talk about this? I was hoping we could all talk about something a little more
Ooh, tense music.
fun. Oh, but this is fun. Oh dear. It was just this summer that I decided to take in some fresh air atop the Abbey wall. I wandered through halls I was not familiar with, trying to find the stairs. All alone in a mysterious portion of this abbey, I found the door I was looking for. When I saw the tail end of another's robe in front of me, I pursued the unknown figure, but when I emerged into the light of day, there was not a soul to be seen. That tracks.
That does track, actually.
Huh. Fascinating. And this was in broad daylight? Maybe the sun blinded you.
This does seem a touch flimsy.
I know what I saw.
Hold on there, Adela. I've seen a ghost is the name of the track. What if...
I'm liking this, like,
Bob.
ska influence.
Yeah. Oh, man. Sorry, this is your reminder to go out and get the OST to this game if you haven't yet. You could read your line if you wanted.
Sorry, I was vibing too hard.
Okay, that's understandable. Have a nice day.
At first, a person was there, and then that person was not there.
Well, we have...
Who was this unknown person X?
Stop. I wasn't going to do it. We do know now... It's weird that they've put this in play that there are passages between the walls.
Yep.
Like, that is in play now.
And not only are there passages, there are hidden entrances that most people don't know about.
Right. Like, and not just, like, hidden in the sense that, like, they're kind of out of the way. Hidden in the sense that they are purposely designed and obfuscated.
Yep.
When you're making a door, you don't have to make the door look like a natural part of the brick wall that slides out.
Yep.
You can just make like a door in the wall that's kind of like unassuming, but otherwise obvious in its function.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing to make it hidden like that belies an intent that you don't want people to know about it and go in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's a terrible ghost story. Oh, is it? Then perhaps you would like to share a better one. Sure, I've got one. I saw someone outside the Superior's window late at night. That's all, I guess.
Why were you in the Superior's room late at night?
There was no one else in the room, just a creepy figure in the bushes. Does that really count as a story? It absolutely does not. No panache whatsoever. Oh, I forgot to mention that they had horns and really scary glowing eyes.
Was there just like a goat outside the window? Is the soup's window like, is her room just like slightly underground so her window is high up on the wall?
I don't know. Oh no. That's a little scarier. Maybe build a little suspense first though. Whatever. I think adding those details just makes the story more unbelievable. Why were you in the Superior's office at night, Flora? Yes, speaking of unbelievable details, that door locks tight.
And how would you know that?
Look, she took my charcoal away because I was scribbling with it during service, okay?
Oh, Flora likes to draw. Okay, cool.
Enough. Let me weave you all a tale of true terror. Look out, everyone. She's gonna tell us how old she really is. Flora, be nice. Some of us were saving that exact joke for whenever Charity spoke up next.
No, I'm not too proud to be honest about my age. I'm 65 and quite happy with my station.
Of course. Well, I can always wait until Marta tries to tell a ghost story. We have a rough estimate for her, at least. Marta was probably there when the white ship sank.
Everyone else guffawed.
What is the white ship?
The white ship sank, because that was capitalized.
Yeah. Whoop. I almost sent an article about magic circles to my manager at work.
I mean, I'm sure your manager would have been fine with it, but maybe confused.
Yeah. I'm still not used to the fucking iPhone quick shortcuts.
Here we go. The white ship was a vessel transporting many nobles, including the heir to the English throne, that sank in the Channel during a trip from France to England near the Normandy coast off of Barfleur on 25 November 1120. So that took about 300 years ago. 300 plus years ago in context. So they're saying she's really fucking old.
Damn, the Kings of England really liked to shipwreck in the Channel in between France and England, didn't they?
So to them, that was about as far back as like the founding of the states is to us now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Okay. So she's an old fuck. Okay, I get you. I get you.
I might have joined in to be nakedly truthful.
But now, my tale.
Oh, so Hedwig knew what that was? Interesting.
I was approaching these very doors late one night. I had been for a nighttime stroll and the torches had just been lit. The wind was such that they kept flickering. It was difficult to see and strange shadows danced across the floor. Suddenly, I realized that one of the shadows in front of me was no shadow at all. And not only that, I swear to you that when I bravely took one step forward, I saw the face of death himself.
The face of death is less terrifying than just the two eye sockets. You notice that?
Yeah, the face of death is kind of cute.
Hey, it's Papyrus Undertale.
Yeah.
It is I, Death.
Well, have I sufficiently rattled you all? Not bad.
There's no artistry in these ghost stories. Come on.
Masterful, Sister Catherine. I cannot pretend otherwise. When was this, Catherine? Oh, I don't know the exact date. A month, perhaps 2 months ago. That might have been me. What? Impossible. I do seem to remember running into you in the hall one night when the torches were flickering in the wind like that. If that is true. Why didn't you say hello? I tried, but you had already run away.
Well, fancy that.
That's not... No, I think this was probably a different night. Well, that's the most believable one yet, aside from mine. You've been a bit quiet, Hedwig. Do you have a good one to share?
I didn't do anything there, by the way. That just did that on its own.
I have a great story to tell you all about the grandest ghost of all, the Holy Ghost.
I'll go back in editing and look through that and make sure there wasn't anything we hadn't seen yet. I think that was just probably a quick flash of all the times we'd seen that apparition or whatever stalking us, right? The figure, but I'll double check in editing to make sure there wasn't anything else hiding in there.
Now I'm imagining kids going around for Halloween in a Holy Ghost costume.
Why? Why on Halloween?
That's when you wear ghost costumes.
I see. Okay.
Me? Oh, no, I've just been so captivated by all of yours so far.
Hedwig's ghost story is one I won't soon forget, though. She conjures up quite an image.
See, it's always Catherine who's trying to make that story stick to us. This is the second time. She might genuinely be appreciative, she might be genuinely appreciative, like, oh yeah, that was actually pretty awesome. But it's also like, in both occasions, she's been party number one to make sure that story sticks to us.
An excellent skill for a chronicler.
Too right. It's nothing, really. I hope none of them had read any of my actual, decidedly sparse writing yet.
Well, if Hedwig is passing, Margaret? Hedwig's heard mine. I was helping clean up in the kitchen one evening. Darcy had finished up, but there was a pot I wanted to give another good scouring before putting it away. So there I was, all alone in the workshop, when I heard a strange sound. The light had started to fade, and I hadn't thought to bring a candle. The fading light of dusk through the window was all I had. I crept toward where I thought I had heard the sound, and saw a pair of eyes.
Oh, that's uncomfortable. I don't like that.
Not only that, there was another creature present
Oh God,
as well.
there is. Hello.
One with a terrible visage. All I could make out was a hideous maw and some truly evil eyes.
So what I'm getting is that you've got a cat and a goat hiding out around here. Right? Right? Am I?
Yeah, I guess so.
If there's a goat that someone's keeping around here and a cat that's wandering around, explains where the goat that was used came from to frighten Hedwig. Oh, thank you. That was delightful.
I hightailed it out of there, I have to confess.
That was some JRPG Maker horror shit. I love that.
Goodness. That is an upsetting story.
In the kitchen? Oh, crumbs. I frowned. Margaret had told me a variation of this story in the chapel. It seemed to be gathering some embellishments for this larger audience.
What do you think you saw? Well, if I had to hazard a guess, perhaps two demons having a meeting of some sort. A meeting? What about? I don't know. Perhaps they were arguing about who to eat first. No! How gruesome! Now you're having it on. Maybe, but I did see them. That much is true.
The one with the big horrible teeth. That could have been a barcast.
A what? The big dog?
That's the one, although A dog isn't quite an apt description. It's a truly terrible creature that haunts old fields and old moors, always stalking around and hunting people who wander late at night. It's not quite a hound, but more of a... well, I don't rightfully know. A mix of dog and a goblin, perhaps?
A doglin.
A doglin, if you will. Like something out of Inferno. I only hope you didn't get a good look at him, Margaret.
And why's that?
Well, they say that if you see him, you're destined to die.
Well, I'm not worried.
No? And why is that?
Because I made it all up, you daft old bat.
My eyebrows had shot straight up, but Charity didn't seem to mind. The whole room erupted with cackling. Oh, the cheek on you lot.
That counts as your ghost story, I take it.
Of course it does, of course it does.
It was very effective, my goodness. I suppose that means it's Moira's turn. Oh, really? Well, I'd have to think. Something often said before believable stories.
Well, look who's talking. Been waiting for an opportunity to jump into the conversation more actively. Been worried that my relative silence was conspicuous. The banter between the sisters had been so acerbic that I thought my contribution would fit right in. Unfortunately, it seemed that I had missed the mark.
Huh?
Because, you know, yours was really short and...
Okay.
She may as well have slugged me in the gullet. I looked around at the others, who seemed to have barely registered our exchange at all. Presumably, they were all opting to remember this embarrassing outburst forever, something to gossip about the way they had Angela earlier. Oh, good. So, Hedwig catastrophizes about her embarrassments following her around forever. Great. Good to know. I was often unsure about who I was exactly without the purpose defined by my cell. As an anchoress, I knew exactly what I was meant to do and where I fit into the world. Removed from the cell, I was utterly blind. I tried new attitudes and mimicked behaviors to find something that fit me, but all I could hope to amount to was being someone else's private joke. Trying new attitudes out and mimicking behaviors to make those around you feel like you fit in when you really don't. I don't know how anyone among us who would relate to that.
I do have a good story to tell, actually. I think it might count. Do tell. Well, one night I was walking past the cloister, and a little bit of gravel worked its way into my shoe. Terrifying.
Let the woman finish, Flora.
It's no problem. I stopped to fish the little rock out of my shoe. I leaned against the wall, and when I looked down, I realized that there were some odd footprints along the path.
Oh, hello there.
Odd how? Well, they were not human footprints. They were small and pointed.
Oh, like a goat. So someone's keeping a goat on the grounds. Okay. Pointed?
Yes, like hooves. Anyway, the footprints continued away from the cloister. I made to follow them, but then I saw a strange figure hunched in the doorway. He turned around and his eyes flashed in the moonlight. I was scared witless and ran all the way up the stairs to my room. Creepy. How strange. Darcy does occasionally bring the sheep up the cloister to keep the grass short, though. There was only one set of footprints, though. Maybe they walk single file. Maybe. That's probably it. Don't let the little gremlin get to you, Moira. It was a fine story. I know it wasn't very well gripping, but... well, how delightfully frightful that was.
Everyone raised their cups. I followed suit, although I could not keep up with the others when they proceeded to chug the contents of their drinks. Hear, hear.
Catherine, would you mind topping me up?
We continued to eat, chat, and drink for a long while. The food was delicious. The wine did a decent job of making me feel warm and pleasant enough to set any worries about my conversational skills aside, too. What was starting to worry me, however, was the matter of how to approach Catherine about James the stable boy without raising any suspicions.
I would quite like to play a game. No, thank you. You cheat anyway.
Wow. They actually may have been just talking about chess that one time.
Hedwig, I forget. Do you know how to play?
Oh, against my better judgment, I gambled. I have been learning, now that you mention it. The superior has been teaching me.
Why would you say that?
Why
would you tell them that? Because isn't she supposed to be keeping her relationship with the soup kind of on the down low? Although, you know what? Rather, if Angela's is the story that gets out, then this kind of helps that story, doesn't it? If other people are also starting to believe that we're being groomed to be the next superior.
I also don't know that having any connection with the superior was necessarily
the
what was to
superior
be
doesn't
covered
just
up.
ask random people to play chess games with her all the time.
That's true. Hedwig might not know that, for one thing.
Yep.
But also that we were told to keep the investigation on the down low, but I don't know that we were told to keep any closeness to the superior on the down low.
Really? So the superior, like the second time we came to her, was like, people can't see you just coming in and out of my office at will.
That's true. I had figured that meant because they will figure out that this is about the investigation, because she showed up and was talking loudly about that and so on.
Okay, maybe. I could be wrong about that then.
Oh, has she now? Lucky you.
Well, I think it's a way of acclimating me to things outside of myself. Everyone here talks about chess so much.
More than likely, it's her mea culpa for dragging you out of there.
I tried to remain calm, but I was gripping my seat so hard that I could hear my fingers pop.
So they all already are like, yeah, the soup made you do it.
Yep. Yeah, like that cat has been out of the bag for a while now. We've not been good about keeping our cards close to the chest on that matter.
Yep.
No, it was my decision to leave.
Oh.
I just felt like it was the right thing to do. The superior explained to me that the abbey was in desperate need of a chronicler, and this would be much quicker than sending word around the country.
So, deep down, you always wanted out of that horrible little cell?
It wasn't horrible. I had to correct myself immediately. I had to stick to my story. But yes, I suppose that I did. I understand that to most people, lying comes easily. People do it to stay out of trouble or to make themselves look stronger or wiser or more interesting to each other. It is a sin, but such is the way of this wicked world. But you must understand that when I said I was an anchoress, I told a single lie.
When I was an anchoress, I told a single lie.
What?
You said when I said I was an anchoress.
Oh! I misread that line. Thank you.
But you must understand that when I was an anchoress, I told a single lie.
Because if it had said in it, that would be a very different implication.
Yeah, no, thank you for correcting me.
Here in the Misericorde, committed to the superior's conspiracy, every falsehood fit like I was spitting a burr out of my mouth.
What was the lie that Hedwig told as an anchoress? A single lie that she told.
A single lie that she had told as an anchoress.
I wonder what it could have been.
I told a single lie. I wonder... This might be a little technicality, but maybe she was lying to herself.
I don't know.
About what she wanted. Yeah.
You were quite a mess when I first saw you in there.
Right, because she was the one who delivered our final meal, which is also put her on my awareness list for possibly poisoning us.
Well, I wasn't dressing for an audience then, was I? Everyone chuckled. I was quickly learning that making people laugh was the fastest way to steer them away from topics I didn't want to talk about.
Your frock is still a bit big for you, I have to say. I think it looks nice. She looks cozy all the time. So, Hedwig.
Have we ever gotten a full-on face shot of Hedwig yet?
No, not at all.
I'd be like, wait, I feel like we haven't at all yet. Huh. That's so weird. Because it's not like she's meant to be like an insert character or anything. But, all we get is implications from other folks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Chess?
Go on, then. Adela beamed at me and got up to retrieve the chessboard in pieces from the shelf. The still ample platter of meat was pushed to the side of the table to make it space. One of the wineskins came dangerously close to falling to the floor before Catherine with a K caught it.
That'd be a waste. Too right. Top me up.
Margaret's having some drinks over there.
I need to get strategic. All right, time for the liquid D&B to kick in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The board was set up, save for two pieces.
Smooth breaks.
Adele approached me with her hands balled up in fists and held them out to me.
Which hand?
Why not just let her go first? Give her the white pieces. She's new here and our guest to boot.
Nonsense. This is part of the game.
Let's see. Your right hand? Adela opened her right hand to reveal a black pawn nestled in her palm.
Black it is. Oh, unlucky. Not at all. Someone must strike first, but that is not necessarily an advantage. When Kerboga struck first at Antioch, he still tasted defeat.
I'm guessing that's...
Kerboga? I don't know.
I'm guessing
that
that's
is.
a chess player.
I'm guessing it's a military leader.
Oh. Actually, yeah, you're right.
Is it a Crusades thing? Oh, First Crusade.
Let's see. Yep. Was Kiwam al-Dawla Kerboka. Was an Atabeg of Mosul during the First Crusade and was renowned as a soldier. Let me see if I can find what he did. In 1908, when he heard the Crusaders had besieged Antioch, he gathered his troops and marched to relieve the city. There you go. For 3 weeks, he pointlessly besieged the city before... oh, right, no, that's something else. Before going on to Antioch.
He got abandoned. If you go to the last paragraph, we're on the same article.
Yeah, we are.
He got abandoned by his allies and defeated shortly after taking the city.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. There's your little bit about Kerboga.
Yes, of course. How could any of us forget Kerboga? Ha! Son of a bitch! Why do we do this?
Why do we do... Oh, because they don't always.
Yeah. Kiwam al-Dawla Kerboga rode to Antioch with his men after hearing of a Christian siege. Wait, so didn't the Christians go first then? I think we're dividing very specific battles up into individual chess games here. The crux of the matter is that Sister Hedwig will suffer no disadvantage going second.
Needless to say, Aldela trounced me. I felt confident for a move or two, but it became clear quite quickly that I was out of my depth.
Well, I think that was not bad for a beginner. You got her in, what, 20 moves? That is better than I would expect from a player who had only learned what chess is a week or so ago. That's a good point. Hedwig, walk me through your strategy.
Well, I don't really know, to tell you the truth. I was mostly just reacting to your moves.
Is that so? That'd explain it.
Really, now?
If you are only reacting to me, it is no wonder I won.
That would follow, I suppose.
I am setting the pace of the whole game. Eventually, you must make your own move. You must force me to react to you.
So we just act and react back and forth until someone wins?
I believe that is the game, yes. Catherine. Yes, Hedwig, because we are not competing to see who can make the single best decision. Chess is not just competing to see who can survive the most moves, but to see whose strategy can adapt and overcome everything your opponent throws at you. Two souls locked in a complicated and deadly dance. Pure romance.
So I've heard you say. That's very interesting.
Thank you. Hedwig, would you mind if I played around? Watching you has got me in the mood to play.
Oh, yeah, yes, of course.
A fine idea, rotating chairs. Who can stay in the victor's seat the longest? I can guess. You are welcome to challenge me as well, Sister Flora, if you feel you deserve to dethrone me.
Flora rolled her eyes as I got up to offer my seat to Moira. The tight group that had formed around the table to watch Adela and I play scattered somewhat. Margaret walked over to the shelf to peruse the entertainment on offer, and Catherine with a K sat down closer to the fireplace. She brought a wineskin with her and poured herself another cup as soon as she was situated. I craned my neck over Charity's shoulder to try to watch Moira and Adela's game. I found myself surprisingly eager to learn some new tips. However, I was quickly interrupted by Catherine with a K calling me from across the room.
Hedwig, have a drink with me.
Oh, yes.
Perfect opening.
Of
What
course.
what a great coincidence.
Yeah, what a coincidence, huh?
I pulled up a chair next to her as soon as she soon poured me a cup of wine.
Is that the most detailed portrait we've gotten of just about anybody yet?
I think so, yeah. Because usually, we have everyone's default set of sprites, right? And then a very small selection of them adapted to certain backgrounds. But I think this is the first time we've seen one person just as their own, like almost a CG level.
Yeah.
Right?
There we are. This is good stuff.
It's very flavorful.
It's made here, you know. It's the only reason this wretched place exists.
The only reason... Surely that's not true. Abbeys are a source of...
wine and money. And absolution for people willing to give them money. Believe me, I'm well acquainted with how these places really work. You and I are very similar, if you can believe it. I do apologize if I've ever made you feel lesser than some of the others.
Not at all.
I was once like you, alone and confused in a place very different from what I was used to. Of course, you left your position by choice, but nonetheless.
I could not correct her, especially as this topic had nearly bubbled over very recently. But I wanted to. Desperately.
I, on the other hand, was ripped from a perfectly comfortable life for a variety of unjust reasons.
You were forced to become a nun? That's not right at all. I mean, I would choose no other life for myself, but...
My goodness, you really were locked away for a long time. That is quite common, even if my particular circumstances are outstandingly unfair. It's a very easy way for a family to get rid of a woman they're not fond of. I was once the lady of a great house, which came, of course, with certain nasty politics of its own.
Ooh.
In that aspect, it was not all that different from living here.
Really?
The politicking, just the politicking. The clothes, the jewels, the freedom. I would put up with the ghastly parlor games to have all that back.
I wasn't sure what politicking at the Abbey she was referring to, but this was no time to get hung up on little details. So what happened? If you don't mind my asking.
I stepped on some of the wrong toes in high society, put some noses out of joint, and was accused of some unsavory things I'd rather not repeat.
Accused of some unsavory things, rather. What kind of shit gets you? You are more familiar with this era than I am. What kind of shit gets you tossed in a nunnery in this day and age?
Maybe having a kid out of wedlock or something. I don't know. Maybe adultery. Trying to get with somebody else's.
It's probably going to be something
husband.
involving romance or affairs then. Because they wouldn't do this for something like grand larceny, right?
Yeah.
Like, if she was just like stealing something, that wouldn't merit this punishment.
Yep.
This is the kind of thing where they can't kill her.
But they need her to be out of the way permanently.
Yes, but they cannot just kill her. Is what it seems like. So it's probably something like you suggested. Probably an affair or something like that. Or, well, at least that's what she's accused of.
And so I was offered the choice of facing the court and a likely execution, or taking the vows. I chose the latter. Maybe she was accused of being gay and or was gay? And they're like, hey, get killed or go to a convent.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing essentially, right? Because it's not really a choice.
Yep. At least I can still grab onto the barest threads of life's great pleasures here occasionally.
She took a deep sip of her drink. That's... well, that just isn't right.
A criticism of the church. Goodness, we'll make a sea dog of you yet.
I didn't say that. But if this happens often, it does sound like some people abuse the concept of the monastery.
You know, I think shuffling people out of sight might be the concept of the monastery.
Come now, that can't be true. Monasteries do wonderful things. They're centers of prayer, research, rigorous academic study, and we help those in need. It's an important calling.
Do we do any of that here? How many people in need do we help all the way up on this hill? There isn't another village for miles. And the fine folk of Linbarrow would have to trek up a mountain to get here.
Perhaps Linbarrow Tor Abbey is more of a monastery for prayer and learning and so on.
Present company excluded, of course, but I don't think much earnest prayer emanates from these halls. Nor do I think we are likely to be responsible for any academic or scholarly pursuits of note anytime soon. Catherine, too, would have argued otherwise, of course. She desperately wanted all of us to have amusing little projects. She was constantly pursuing some sort of greatness, whether for herself or the whole abbey.
What did she want for you?
She desperately wanted to get me to act in one of her little performances.
Ah, thespian.
She said I had a natural disposition for it.
Did you ever take her up on it?
Once or twice. I did not hate it, but acting for an audience of just a few other nuns didn't give me much satisfaction.
Still, that sounds very sweet. Should have liked to have watched one of these performances.
You are too sweet. Too kind. We'll beat that out of you eventually.
She chuckled dryly and reached for the wineskin to pour herself another cup.
But now that she's gone, the only product of note here is the wine. And when Marta eventually pops it... Grim, I know, but I'm just being realistic. That'll be the last of any worth this place had gone. When the wine dries up, so will we. Speaking of...
She shook the wineskin and flopped back and forth unceremoniously.
Is that one dead? Goodness, you made me jump. Sorry. I was just coming over to see if you wanted another. Oh, you are positively angelic.
Margaret grinned ever so slightly and began pouring out a much fuller-looking wineskin than the deflated lump Catherine was holding. I noticed that Catherine with a K was beginning to look a little rosy in the cheeks. I felt dastardly even considering this, but if there ever was a time to ask her about James...
Wonderful. You know, this reminds me. We haven't had a proper wake for Unbelievable!
Flora was holding the platter of meat and staggering on one leg. She looked surprised that she had managed to catch the food at all. Chess pieces had clattered to the floor all around the pair of players. Adela looked furious. Moira, however, was clearly trying her hardest not to laugh out loud. Catherine with a K, Margaret, and I all hurried over to see what the fuss was about.
I'm sorry, Adela, but it's true. What on earth did you do? She used underhanded tactics to try and eke out a pathetic victory.
Oh, come now.
I was just playing normally. And how's that? She was taking every piece possible, whether it was logical to do so or not. Oh no, here we go. Not another argument about bloody maiden's chess again. I wasn't trying to do anything malicious. I just captured a lot of pieces, I suppose. You captured every time it was remotely possible, even if it was not strategically important. Violence for the sake of violence. Total barbarism. Passionless, ugly brutality. Was it really every time it was possible? Yes, do not pretend otherwise. Oh dear. Hand on heart, I promise I was not playing by Maiden's rules on purpose. I was just, well, eager. Eager to prove myself. You're very good at chess. I thought that being aggressive would be my best strategy. That could hardly be called a strategy. You and Hedwig played just the same. Well, there is one small difference. I won.
Raucous laughter went up from all the sisters. What was it? Maiden's rules?
I'm not familiar with this.
Was that what she said? Maiden's rules?
Yeah, Maiden's chess. And I almost just sent the article about Kerboga to my manager at work. God damn, I need to learn these fucking iPhone Shortcuts.
Capturing is obligatory if possible. That's the essential. Yeah.
That's interesting. Amusingly, it was buried in results for Chess Maiden for Nintendo Switch, which I have a feeling is different than Maiden's
Out
Chess.
now.
So, Adela is kind of rough to play against, huh?
Yeah, it seems like she has a very firm idea of what a good game of chess looks like.
Yeah, she loves chess, but she does not like losing and has a bit of a temper about.
Yeah, she's pissed off because Moira just brought her CEDH deck to the weekly game night, and everyone else around here is playing their silly tribal decks.
But is that the case? Because it sounds like Adela is used to always winning. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Because Flora was like, and we know who that is, when we were talking about, oh, see who can sit in the champion's chair the longest. So it sounds like Adela's mad that she's lost when she doesn't expect to. She expects to be the good chess player and tell everybody else how to play and what's a good strategy.
She doesn't seem like a graceful winner.
Yeah.
Or a loser, rather. Graceful loser.
Yeah.
All except Adela, who looked like she might need to be physically restrained from leaping onto Moira like one of the bears Angela was so worried about.
I demand a rematch. A rematch where we understand we are playing the same game by the same rules. The rules of real chess, not this oafish perversion. If it'll make you happy.
We all set to work, righting the table and finding all the scattered pieces that had found their way across the room.
Any requests?
Free bird! Free bird!
God, I'm trying to remember any songs that would have existed in this period, and I don't. I know I've heard some on YouTube and stuff.
Give me John Barleycorn!
That was around then, right?
Was it? Because even for folk songs, like we're talking old enough that some of the folk songs might be
I
newer.
thought Barleycorn was the 1400s. Nope, dates back to 1782. Nope. I was off by a good bit there.
The first song to personify barley was called Allen a Moat, Allen of the Malt, written sometime prior to 1568. So
even
there is
then,
even an older one, but even that one is still newer than this.
Yeah,
okay. This is old music.
This is old music. Okay.
Is this what
you know what? I bet they didn't even
music?
have records back then.
Yeah, this is yeah. This is what they call early music, which is a funny name for it in my opinion, because like there was earlier music. But
this
not
is
that
like,
early.
This is like on the earliest ends of recorded music though, right? And not because this
is recorded how?
Notated, written down.
There's notated music dating back to the Greeks.
Is there?
Yeah.
I did not know.
I took an independent study on classical Greek music notation. I couldn't tell you anything about it now other than I remember the word baritone. And
okay. That sounds cool. Good old Barry T.
I believe that was the fundamental note of the scale that was used, the baritone, but
barreled. All right.
Margaret had managed to sneak up behind me as I was bent over picking up a wayward pawn.
Sorry.
I stood up and turned around to see her idly strumming a bulbous wooden instrument.
I think it's about time for some music. Is there anything you'd like to hear?
I bit my lip. I was not sure how to answer this question without sounding icier than I wanted to be at the moment. Trying to make friends, not alienate anyone more than I already had.
Oh, silly question. My apologies.
Well, not silly. I appreciate it. It's just, you know.
They really should have given you an instrument in there. A flute, perhaps.
I never felt like I needed one. It might have been fun, though. She had started plucking the strings and bobbing up and down, a slight grin emerging on her lips. She swayed side to side a little, but kept her eyes on me the whole time.
Another silly question, but I may as well go for it. You do know what music is, right?
Of course I do. I heard it occasionally as a little girl.
Okay.
So she did have a life outside the convent at one point.
At one point.
When she was quite little. Old enough that she remembers the concept vaguely of some things like music, but very little else.
Right, because she seemed like startled at the notion of the outside world as well. So I guess hear me out. I'm guessing that means she probably came from like a highborn family.
Who got rid of her when she was too young to even realize that that was her background?
Yep.
That could be.
I bet it's something along those lines.
Yeah, like what if she's an illegitimate child of some noble? And it's like, fuck, I gotta pawn her off somewhere and make sure
she
that
stays put.
She stays put. And in particular, that nobody can even find her to like turn this against me. What do? Put her in a convent, make sure she becomes the anchoress. She'll sit in there and no one will ever be able to see her. And by the time she gets out, if she gets out, she won't even have any context because she was too little. It's perfect.
God damn, that's devious. And that also gives us a little bit like helpful, like, okay, yeah, so it does confirm that she did have a life before being an anchoress.
Ooh. We were wondering, why would a noble have leverage on the abbey? Wait, no, that would be the other way around. The abbey would have leverage on the noble.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Still, I think that's a good working. I think that's a good first stab at it, right? I think that's our first kind of real first take at this.
Yeah, there's lots about music mentioned in the Bible.
Joyful noise, yes. I'd be curious to know what you remember from before you were interred, though.
Well, I vaguely remember about summer.
Summer is a coming in?
Summer is a coming in.
Yeah.
Oh, that must be it.
That's quite old. That's something Marta would have considered out of fashion.
I never claimed to be a particularly fashionable child.
Summer is ikumen in. Ihude sing cuckoo.
Yes, that's the one.
Interesting. So that one's from the manuscript. It was preserved is from somewhere around the 1260s. It's the oldest known musical composition featuring 6-part polyphony.
Oh, that's cool.
Huh. It's a fun one. Want to sing it?
Oh, no.
Everyone, a little musical accompaniment for this clash of armies, yes?
I flushed red as everyone turned to look at us. All the pieces had returned to the chessboard the sisters were crowded around. Save for the pawn I held in my hand. Adela held open her hand and looked at me expectantly. Instinctively, I tossed it. She snatched it out of midair, gave me a little smile as a cheer went up from around the room. Margaret played a single note. Perhaps it was the wine, or perhaps hearing everyone cheer for my expert chess piece throw had gone to my head, but I did not protest. Instead, Sumer is sikumen in Lude sing cuckoo.
Your turn.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was still you. Groweth sad and bloweth mad.
Despite my initial bravery, I could feel myself turning redder and redder. However, once Margaret chimed in, the rest of the room did too. In short order, nearly everyone was singing along as Moira and Adela began their second game. I had no idea if I was anywhere close to the right tune or pitch, but it didn't matter. There was something intoxicating about hearing everyone together loosely guided by Margaret's lute strings. The song lasted for several chess moves. When the song ended, everyone was clapping and laughing. Even Flora looked amused, her usual frown twisted into something like a smile. Music fucking rocks for that. Yeah. As someone who has a very difficult time managing their mood, music is one of the few things that consistently can just help make something feel better and always raise a mood. It's fucking... When you start thinking about what music does to you, like, physiologically, when you hear it, it's fucking incredible that such a thing exists.
It's bloody winter, though. All the more reason for a summer tune.
Hear, hear. Cups clunked together as everyone toasted. Moira and Adela's game continued apace. Adela looked like frustration was getting the better of her again. Her moves began to feature loud punctuation. She was practically thrusting her pieces into the board. It looked like playing with a different set of rules was making Moira take things more seriously. She looked thoughtful and took to tending her fingers under her nose and leaning forward between the turns. Even without Moira using her old strategy, the amount of pieces was dwindling fast. Adela was certainly being more aggressive. She had navigated her queen into a domineering position on Moira's side of the board, close to her king.
I think I have you. No.
Moira slid her own queen further up the board to the side.
That is of no help to you.
Only a handful of pawns remained on either side, save for each side's king and queen. Adela, however, seemed to be primed to deal a fatal blow. Moira had elected to move her queen further into the right-hand side of the board, presumably to pin Adela's king from afar. But it appeared as though she had moved the critical piece dangerously close to one of Adela's pawns.
I think it might be. You have left your queen completely open to me. Well, not entirely. You still have to get a pawn in position to take her. Which I shall do.
She slid the pawn next to Moira's queen with dramatic confidence.
Are you even playing anymore? Perhaps I have bored you. No, I don't know how to put this. You can't take my queen. What do you mean? Of course I can. No, I don't think so.
Moira carefully lifted up her queen up and placed it back down on the board directly diagonal to Adela's own advancing queen.
What? I must ask again. Are you even paying attention?
However, a murmur of understanding was passing through the rest of the room.
Adela, don't set me up like that. What on earth are you talking about? Are you paying attention?
She gestured to the board, pointing at the relative position of her own king and queen to Adela's attacking queen.
If you take my queen, my king can't move. I can't rightfully put him in check, can I? Of course not. Wait. Which would result in a stalemate.
I was wondering if that's what she was going to be doing. Oh, that's clever.
Is that correct? So, perhaps we can agree to a draw. Of all the dirty tricks, Sister Moira, I am shocked. It wasn't a trick. Or rather, it's not like this was my plan, but you were playing really well. This was the only defense I could conjure up.
Moira might as well have been pissing on Adela's food in front of her, the way Adela was glaring at her.
So, draw? Yes, it is a draw.
Another cheer went up around the room as Adela begrudgingly shook Moira's hand over the chessboard.
I suppose that means both seats are open. Yes, I suppose so.
She stood up sulkily and made off for the wineskin that Catherine with a K had left on her chair by the fireplace. Moira vacated her seat too, looking sheepish.
Anyone want to take me on?
Oh, go on then. I was starting to get a little worried I would never get a chance to corner Catherine with a K, although at the very least her drinking was not slowing down. As long as I could get to her, I was certain I could get what I needed. The issue at this point was getting to her at all. Margaret was pacing about the room, strumming a pleasant tune on her lute. I could see Flora reaching for a book on the corner shelf. However, when she brought her to a chair by the fireplace, she held it over her knee rather than open it to read.
Margaret.
With a wicked grin, Flora began to beat the book with her palms. A driving rhythm was created. It was one that Margaret certainly knew, as she immediately returned with a lute melody that fit snugly between Flora's makeshift drum
tune
beats.
hits at that moment.
What track's this called?
Saltarello.
Moira ran over to the shelf and retrieved a small wooden flute. As soon as she had an opening, she began to play along with Margaret and Flora. The tune was wild and a little jagged, but it was one everyone in the room seemed to know, save for me, of course. Catherine with a K began swinging back and forth in her seat, and I could see Charity's head moving underneath her hood. Adela, however, was breaking into a full-on dance, jumping and twirling like a mad woman. I must admit I was stymied. These people were unrecognizable and I had no idea what to do. There was no way I was going to dance, and I wasn't particularly interested in getting another chess lesson from my betters. To avoid looking foolish, I did the one thing available to me to feel like I belonged in this room. Drink.
Hedwig, no.
I was no stranger to wine. I had it with every meal even when I was still an anchoress, but this was a new experience. Nobody in this room was drinking to quench their thirst. They were all drinking for the sake of drinking, chasing a stupor that was expressly discouraged, if not outright forbidden, by the text all of them held sacred. What was I to do? I was conscious enough to understand that this was not the time to
Proselytize?
proselytize?
I think.
Man, I cannot pronounce that word. That one's gonna be my kryptonite till the day I die.
I closed my eyes, briefly, to pray that my transgressions would be understood. I was here to seek justice for a murdered woman. I was here to clear an innocent man's name. The songs kept going and going. It could have been one long shifting song for all I knew. I didn't recognize any of the tunes this makeshift band was playing, but all of them proved popular with the room. I found myself swaying along with the music without thinking. Adela made her way over to me and... suppose the best description I can muster is that she began dancing at me. She got very close to my face. She bumped her hips against mine, almost knocking me over. I held my drink with both hands and held it in front of me like a shield. I had no idea how to dance alone, let alone with a partner. I don't know how to dance.
It is easy. You just need to move.
I am moving. We were both shouting over the music. Adela laughed and retreated away while still shaking to the beat of Flora's book drum. The other end of the room, she beckoned to me. I relented, scooting forward, and... I honestly can't describe what I did with my legs. Just sort of moved them, kicked them, perhaps. I would rather not dwell on it. Suffice it to say it was enough to pass for dancing, but not good enough to keep Adela and the band members from giggling at me. These are nice memories. I hope I'm not boring you.
Banger. Banger.
The energy of the night decayed slowly but surely. There had been a steady rotation of sisters between chess games and dancing, but the games of chess were now much less raucous. The dancers, myself included, were now sitting down, and Margaret was the last musician still playing a tune. She stood by the crackling fire, staring into the flames and plucking out a bittersweet tune. Her fingers moved delicately over the strings. The intensity with which she stared into the fireplace gave the impression that she was serenading the flames themselves. That's a really lovely tune. What is it?
Thank you. I don't know, really. It's my own.
Oh, hold on. I can tell you. It's Margaret's song.
That's what I just said, yes. I don't have a name for it.
Oh. Well, it's beautiful. She turned away from the fireplace and flashed one of her sad smiles at me. I sometimes wonder if I ever had a single earnest exchange while I was outside of this cell. You and I, as we are here, this is as honest as it can get for me. I am free from reinterpreting whatever flickers across your face as your true intent. Speaking face to face is like reading a book with words that rearrange themselves.
Aren't you going to ask me what it's about?
Hold on, I don't want to gloss over that real quick. You and I, as we are here, this is as honest as it can get for me. I am free from reinterpreting whatever flickers across your face as your true intent.
Because she's back in a cell and can't see who she's talking to.
I see. Okay. That seems to make it seem like she's back in as an anchoress and not...
Maybe not.
Well, what is it about? Well, what's what about?
The song.
It doesn't have words, so what could it possibly be about? Margaret smiled again. It still didn't come across as happy exactly, but there was some warmth in her face this time.
Of course. How silly of me.
I don't understand.
I'm the one who doesn't understand. I keep asking you these questions as if you were anyone else.
Am I so different?
Compared to these women?
She tilted her head towards the others, who were all preoccupied in quiet conversations of their own.
Very. None of them see the world quite like you do.
That makes me sound a little bit too... important.
I didn't say you were better than them. And for that matter, I don't think they're better than you. Everyone here is just different. And you're different in a very interesting way.
We speak the same language, but sometimes I feel like I barely understand anyone.
Or that nobody understands you. I've felt the same way. And I've often wondered, is the onus to change on you or them?
It's me.
That was a quick answer.
Well, why should it be anyone else's responsibility?
Very noble. But by that same token, why should it be yours?
Because I'm new? And I'm more out of place than they are. There are more of you than me, if that makes sense. More people who have lived their lives outside of little rooms. I couldn't possibly demand everyone else start making concessions for me.
That's very interesting. When I asked you what the song meant, what was your first reaction inside, in your mind before you spoke?
I thought, how can a song with no words mean anything? My response was earnest, I assure you.
You are very honest. Does the music make you feel something, though?
It's very sad compared to what you were all playing before.
You can tell? That's wonderful. But still, your question is perfectly valid. There are no words, so how could it have any meaning? I came up with this tune when I was feeling rather melancholy. I think the notes match. These notes sound sad to me. I have no idea how I would know that, and even less of an idea of how you might know it. Anyway, it was silly of me to ask, but it does seem like deep down you understood me.
That's fascinating, but I don't understand a word of it. She chuckled.
This is the sort of thing me and Catherine used to talk about. Thank you, Hedwig.
Is it really?
Yes. I must admit I'm cribbing from her work a little here. She asked me these questions almost exactly once upon a time, when I was new. I told her about how, when I was a little girl, it was the hymns that kept me interested in Mass. Super relatable. Despite not knowing what any of the lyrics meant, she laughed and said that was proof that God was in the music itself. I still occasionally get church songs stuck in my head.
Yeah?
The singing was always my favorite part of church, and legitimately, I think a cappella, multi-part vocal harmony is good as music. It's cool and good. I just wish it didn't have all of the anti-gay and like weird awfulness.
It comes with so much attached to it that it's hard to appreciate just on its own merits. But yeah, no, I can fully recognize the talent that goes into writing and performing that kind of thing. And again, music like fucks with your mind while you do it. And like in many ways it's positive, but it also puts you in a much more receptive mood to what's going on around you.
I didn't understand what she meant at the time. I didn't agree. I might still have some complicated thoughts about all of it, but whenever I play music, I think about that.
It's an interesting way of putting it, though. God being... The music makes you feel something, so that's God in the music. It's... Huh.
I miss her laugh.
She began to pluck a new tune on her instrument.
That was one of hers. What I can remember of it anyway. I wish I could recall the whole thing.
I had no idea how to respond to this and endeavored to move past the evidently raw subject. One forlorn drunkard had been enough for me. Unfortunately, I managed to put my foot in my mouth instead. Margaret, you're from far away, yes?
Here we go. Go on.
And I may as well be from someplace far away. Are we similar in that regard? Do we have a sort of kinship as outsiders?
I've lived my whole life in England, Hedwig. As did my father. As did his father. And his mother, for that matter. So, no. Not particularly.
She continued to strum her lute, but I could feel a sucking void in between each note. I am sorry. The superior, well, at that luncheon, I must have misinterpreted. She smiled thinly, with none of the subtle humor her vexatious expressions often betrayed. I could sense that I tested her patience.
The superior has never once asked me about my life. Keep that in mind in case she's told you anything else about me.
I must have looked a right fool as I gawped at her and tried to think of something to say. But just then...
Hedwig. Hedwig, 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 Hedwig.
The sudden intrusion made me jump. I turned around, but I couldn't see where Flora was.
Down here.
Flora was sprawled out on the stone floor. Her head so close to my foot that I might have tripped had I taken a step to the side.
What are you doing on the floor? Convalescing. I feel sick when I stand up, but down here is good. That makes sense.
Are you all right?
Yes, this is normal, I think. Catherine said this is normal.
I glanced across the room to Catherine with a K, who was sitting at the table looking only slightly more conscious than Flora.
If I lay down for long enough, I will feel normal again, and then I can have some more wine. Oh, I think there's plenty left. That's a rather big cask. I bet I could fit in it if I drank the rest of what's in there. but I'd go steady now if I were you. Shut it up. I need to ask Hedwig a question.
What do you need, Flora?
Well, you used to make all those Bibles, yeah? And you know how to make pictures?
Do you mean illuminating?
Yes, that's what I said. Illuminating.
Yes, Flora. I did a little illuminating.
So. 2 ideas. I have 2 ideas for you.
Go on then.
I can't wait to hear this. Idea number 1. Where is all of the gold from that?
The gold?
The gold from the enumerating. Keep up.
You mean the leaf, the gold leaf. Illuminating manuscripts involves a lot of colorful pigments, including gold leaf. I always enjoyed filling in the little details like halos and jewelry with my little brush. I must admit it though, that wasn't my favorite color to work with. I was partial to the deep blue pigment I broke out for depictions of certain robes, eyes, and even the ocean.
Right. Where do we keep all that?
I'm not sure. It would get brought to me in little pots every few months. I think the bishop brought them.
Fuck. It's not here?
I could feel myself turning hot with embarrassment and shock. Flora's drunken demeanor was already knocking me off keel, and her vulgar outburst set my teeth on edge.
I don't think so. Sorry, Flora.
Did you want to paint with it?
No, I wanted.
I'm sorry. I didn't catch that.
I wanted to steal it. Think about it. We could be rich, and we would have split it half and half. 3 ways. I'd want in on this deal too. Fuck. Fair's fair, I suppose.
That's... Flora, how could you?
Hedwig, I don't think you need to take this very seriously.
Plotting to rob the abbey, or worse, the diocese itself. This is very serious.
You're no fun. It's paint, Flora. What Hedwig means is that the gold isn't worth anything when it's paint. Oh. I knew it was too good to be true. Tough luck.
What would you even do with all that gold? If it was really gold, I mean.
What do you think? Us 3, we'd get out of this flippin' abbey. Go somewhere far away.
She gestured broadly with her hand, I presume to imitate a bird or the wind or something.
Aw, bless her.
Why would we want to do that?
Because I hate it here.
Tears started welling up in her eyes. I had no idea what to say. Flora!
Let's get you up. Come on.
She extended a hand down to Flora. I followed suit, although I'm not sure I was much help. We dragged the poor girl to her feet and brought her to one of the chairs by the fireplace. She looked positively sodden.
I hate it here so much. There.
Surely you don't mean that. Margaret shot at me a look, and for the first time ever I could sense true venom behind her eyes. It was the briefest flash of anger, but it was enough to make me feel like a flower looking up at a boot.
Why do you hate it here, Flora? There's nothing to do, and I'm all alone.
Margaret reached out and clasped her shoulder.
You aren't alone, but I understand. I am, though. There's no one my age here. Nobody talks to me. I don't know what I'm doing here. I never wanted to join a convent.
She broke down into little hiccuping sobs. Margaret got down on one knee and squeezed Flora's hand on hers. I was too much of a coward to follow suit. All I could do was stand there stupidly, hoping that some of the immense pity I was feeling would be detectable to Flora and Margaret. I wanted to help, but I had not a single earthly idea of what help looked like.
You never had a choice, did you, Flora?
Flora shook her head.
I miss Catherine. I do too. She would talk to me. She was you lot's age, but she at least knew how to listen. She was the only one who felt like a real sister to me.
I opened my mouth to point out that sister was merely a title, but thought better of it.
Catherine made time for everyone. I'm sorry if it feels like we haven't made any time for you, Flora. I can try harder. But I like being alone.
She started sobbing again. I was bewildered by this contradiction, but Margaret just smiled.
I do understand. I really do. Us old fogies aren't much fun to be around, are we?
Flora shook her head and Margaret chuckled.
We're all you have, I'm afraid. Not if I leave. You can't leave, Flora. None of us can. Our vows are perpetual. They don't have to be. I mean, Hedwig.
She pointed at me weakly.
Hedwig broke hers, and she was an anchoress or what have you.
That was different, Flora.
How?
I had an answer for this, but I could not share it. Instead, I had to stew in the uncomfortable silence between the three of us.
I'm certain that's a more complicated situation, Flora. Well, maybe I could be complicated. I would be happy telling people it was complicated if they asked how I could leave. There's always other convents you could transfer to one day. You could go to London or Spain. I'm sure they have a lot more nuns your age and abbeys that aren't in the middle of nowhere like our boring old place. Remember when Catherine and you were planning a visit to Italy? Yeah. Maybe we can try and put something like that together again for you. I'd just hate to see you break your vows and throw your life away. Would that be so bad?
Yes. The two of them turned to look at me inquisitively. A trace of the same rage I'd sensed earlier flickered behind Margaret's eyes, but I forged onward. Take it from me, Flora. Don't break your vows. Your life might feel difficult sometimes, but those struggles are nothing compared to the regret you would feel breaking that oath. If the guilt didn't consume you, the world would. No man would marry you, no lord would want your service. You'd have nowhere to go but back to the church, and then you would be right back where you started, feeling all the same things at the added yoke of despair that no matter how hard you threw yourself into the work, no matter how much you believed in your vows this time, that you had made that choice, that you were once an apostate. It's a millstone you could never take off.
That's not very comforting, Hedwig.
No, it's not. I wonder if that's part of how Hedwig feels now. Wait,
Yep.
I wonder if some of that might be present Hedwig embellishing a little bit here.
Oh, absolutely.
Flora looked ready to burst into tears again. Margaret had cast her eyes to the floor.
How would you know?
Because that is how I feel every day, Flora. Sister Margaret is right. My choice was complicated. But I've regretted it every day since, and I will for every waking moment of my life. You don't want to end up like me.
Hedwig is right, Flora. Leaving this life can be very tempting, but there's really nowhere else to go. I don't know if that makes me feel any better. I promise I will do whatever I can to make you feel more at home here. Hedwig will too. Won't you, Hedwig?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
She sniffled and pulled her hand away from Margaret's. She twiddled her thumbs together in her lap and feebly attempted a smile.
I guess it's just the wine. I mean, where would I go? You can still travel the world if you really want to. There's no reason we can't ask the Superior to send you somewhere nice one day. We just don't want you to throw your life away. Believe me, everyone in this room has been where you are right now. Really? When I was your age, I once tried to escape in the back of the delivery cart. I was going to hop off in the village and get a boat across the lake. From there I'd hitchhike to London, marry a wealthy man. Maybe a visiting dignitary or something of the sort. I had big ideas. Why didn't you?
Margaret grinned. Her eyes were slightly glassy.
Catherine had more or less the same conversation with me that we're having with you now. So Catherine's been here for ages.
Okay, that seems to put that theory to rest then.
Yeah.
Okay. So Catherine's been here longer than... Okay, so that would seem to put that theory to rest. Catherine had more or less the same conversation than you. That also puts an interesting perspective on Catherine's whole personality, because Catherine always seemed to feel like there was more that she could do. Like, Catherine always seemed like, from what we describe her, seemed limited by this life. I was constantly looking for ways to expand and go beyond that.
Absolutely. And yeah, that doesn't change the fact of the matter that she wouldn't have anywhere to go. She presumably, like everybody else here, has some reason that they aren't very public about, that they have to be here and got put here and didn't want to. Much like Angela was alluding to, that this isn't a place where people go, it's a place where they get put.
Yep. Although I do like to point out, this is something that what she says here is something that Hedwig is overhearing. It's entirely possible Hedwig could be hearing the wrong Catherine. Maybe it's a conversation that Catherine with a K had with her. I don't know what the purpose of that would be.
Yeah, I don't know that we get anything from assuming that the other Catherine was happy with the situation. It seems to fit very well with the mold of what we know about Lynn Barrow. She begged me to stay. She asked what she could do to convince me. And, well, that's when I said I wanted to play the lute.
We all remained silent for a moment. Flora, forgive me, but earlier you said you had 2 ideas. There's something someone could do?
Oh, that. No, it was nothing. Go on. Tell us. Well, I was going to ask if you could teach me what you know about illumination, Hedwig. After all, I'd need some skills if I were ever to leave, wouldn't I? You wanted to steal a bunch of gold paint to fund your life on the run as an artist?
Margaret started to giggle. Flora looked affronted at first, but eventually joined in with a quiet chuckle of her own.
Shove off. No, I like it. It's better than my plan was. Well, I'm rubbish at drawing, so a bit of a non-starter. Hedwig will teach you.
Huh?
Won't you, Hedwig?
Margaret's tone was light, but she was looking at me with grim intensity. Of course I will. I can't promise much. I've only ever worked on illuminated Bibles, but...
Just the basics. That's all I need. That's right, it's good to start somewhere. Catherine taught me about music, and she wasn't exactly Hildegard.
Did Hildegard play music as well?
Oh, yeah. Hildegard von Bingen.
You weren't kidding me. Renaissance woman and not the Renaissance.
Yep. Renaissance woman well before the Renaissance happened.
Flora stood up from her chair. She was wobbly on her feet, a reminder that she was still very, very drunk. She lurched toward me. She threw her arms around me unannounced, making the second time this evening that I had no idea how to respond to someone's touch.
Thanks, Hedwig. You're all right. You know that.
Well...
Give the lady some space, Flora. She probably doesn't want to smell your wine breath. Why don't you go eat something?
Flora released me from her embrace and gave Margaret a vaguely affirmative hand gesture. She spun around on her heel, still a little unbalanced, and wandered off toward the table.
Goodness. I haven't seen anyone get that pissed in a while.
Did I say something wrong?
I don't think so. I think we did the best we could. Did you mean it?
Mean what?
About breaking your vows. Do you really feel that way?
Oh, yes. There was no sense in walking things backward.
Huh. Why did you do it then?
In retrospect, I probably would have not made the same decision, but that's why I felt it was worth telling Flora. Margaret nodded thoughtfully.
Well, lovely chatting with you.
She picked up her lute from the chair next to the one Flora had been sitting in, and then left to put it back on the shelf.
Crumbs, what's gotten into Flora?
We'll have to find out what's up with Catherine.
Next time?
There you go. See, now you're getting it. When I keep teeing you up and then you keep pausing awkwardly like you're... Has it really been that long? Have you forgotten how we do this?
We need a secret hand gesture.
No.
I'm thinking something like...
No one can see what you're doing. This is a purely somatic joke and no one can...
How about like...
Okay, so the second option was also entirely somatic, so no one can see it.
They can see it. They appreciate it.
Leave a comment if you appreciate Vivian's hand gesture jokes that can't come over the microphone. You know the usual, everyone. If it's your first time through along with us and you got some theorizing, make sure you can leave that in the comments along with us. We'd love to hear what you're thinking. If you do know what's happened or this isn't your first time through and you need to talk about other stuff, make sure you use Rot13 for spoilery stuff. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Peace.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.